YouTube. We decided to, well, I decided that I've had enough of this unboxings and mess in my office, so we decided to come to a more controlled unboxing environment. As usual, we have some run-of-the-mill stuff, and we have quite a few special pieces to show you. And we're also going to talk about Franck Muller today. Yeah, believe it or not. Have you heard of him? Hope you did. Anyway, let's get to the unboxing. Today is a good one. We're going to be talking about Franck Muller. Of course, we have quite a few special pieces to show you just the same, so let's get right into it.
Not a Franck Muller, we got a Bvlgari. But let's see what we have. I have no idea.
Well, that's the beauty about these unboxings. We actually don't know what's in these boxes when we do this.
Oh, look at this. This is their new Octo Finissimo in the sketch model. The original design of the Octo Finissimo, they recreated that original sketch of the watch in the dial. And these are trading super well. It's really well.
They're trading over list.
I mean, which is crazy for a Bvlgari, right? Because, you know, Bvlgari is not a watch that typically trades over list. You get also Octo case, very slim profile, micro rotor movement. I mean, this is wonderful design mixed with
Genta.
Yeah, also Genta, right? Or Genta inspired. I know he worked. I don't know if he worked directly on the Octo.
So no, what they did was they took the old Octa models from Genta when Genta was a company, Gerald Genta, and then they really, when they bought them, they kept the original designs. They're trading through the roof because everybody wants them, rightfully so. I think they're super attractive. Chrono is also really cool.
The Chrono is super nice. We've had both, and both are.
They're both trading over list. Let me jump into the one OP colorful model that's still not discontinued, right? They discontinued 41, they discontinued 36, but for some reason they kept the little one, the 31 millimeter, in the lineup. I don't, who the hell are we to argue with them? They're the #1 brand, always have been and always will be. So there's so many guys out there that be like, oh, Rolex are doing the same thing with this. All they did is change the bezel. And I'm like, who are you to argue with them?
Yeah,
like,
it's hard to argue with their business sense.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, they do well and they do extremely well. Offshores. We had a quick conversation about offshores, actually the last of the unboxing, the one before that, where I felt that whatever goes up must come down, but when something goes down, something must go up. And I feel like we might, don't hold me to it, but I think we may see what happened back in 2010, 2011, where we went from the offshores being it to Royal Oak sort of taking over, and that have been, you know, kicking ass in the last 10 years. Now, with the dip in the market, you get that certain turn-off factor from the clients, and they start looking back at older offshores and current offshores, and I think we may see another flip, which would be pretty amazing considering that AP was like all about the offshores was it, like when I started, and then it slowly moved into Royal Oaks. Like I couldn't give away a Royal Oak. The old offshores, this is the old Panda, right, that comes on a hornback strap. I think value-wise, money-wise, I think it just works. It makes sense.
It's hard to go wrong value-wise, and also it's just a cool, fun watch. You know what I mean? It's not something to take so seriously. It's not like a, you know, it's something that you can wear and not worry about, you know, kind of thing.
Let's move on to another Rolex, and that is going to be Daytona two-tone. I don't even want to unwrap it. Like I feel like it's safe.
I think,
like if this Daytona were to have sex with this Franck Muller, there would not be any baby Muller Daytonas right now.
I'd love to see Rolex make a two-tone Daytona with a ceramic bezel. I think it would just go through the roof.
One person said, do you think older reference offshores will increase in price?
I've always, see, I'm not gonna answer that on the offshore end, and the reason for that is because I can give you a general answer on that. I've said it before multiple times. Going backwards to something that's an timeless design, like you said, right? Somebody that has the power to continue making seemingly the same thing and still stay successful, always works. It's not just about being less made, because you have to consider the fact that there's a lot of guys and girls out there that when they buy a watch, they never sell it. They pass it on to the next generation, they hold on to it, they build a collection. So it's not just about how many were made, it's also about how many actually available for sale. Sea-Dweller, 126600.
Yeah, or 1266.
No, 126600. I actually do remember.
Redline Sea-Dweller, made for the anniversary. This one is not technically the anniversary year. It's previous model with the crown between Swiss and May, but I love red text on Rolex.
My first vintage watch was a single red Sea-Dweller from Rolex. That's actually my birth year from 1975, which
that'll work.
And this is the cool part about this whole thing is like, These little minute details that are like, you get excited over the fact that the writing is red on Rolex. You're like, what the, you know, most people that don't watch it, like, what's the big deal? But it is a big deal.
It's like cosmetic details, right? Like a flat fork hermit. I'm like,
yeah, like
it doesn't make a difference.
And the thing of it is the flat fork hermit is something that the secondary market noticed after the fact, like, and they dubbed it the flat fork. It wasn't like Rolex said, oh, new model is flat fork, next model is not a flat fork. If they made that watch next year, and they made the writing pink, it'd be all the craze.
Yeah.
Still love these old school boxes. These coffin boxes are great. What we have in here is we have a King Conquistador in a matte finish. This is actually stainless steel, not titanium. It's a matte finish, so it's not shiny, for the lack of a better term. They made a lot of variation of the King Conquistador. This is the automatic. They also made the chronograph. Now let me tell you about when I was coming up, before I was in the watch industry. To have a King Conquistador, that was the watch to have. Franck Muller was king. Before the internet, before eBay days, before the gray market became so big and powerful and visible, I should say, right? Franck Muller was it. I mean, he was so popular. He became so popular so quick. He was the Richard Mille of his time.
Yeah. So he even himself has said on record, right, that he was very inspired by Franck Muller, and you could see it in his design. Franck Muller is the one, in my opinion, who really popularized or repopularized the tonneau case shape, especially in sports watches, which, you know, tonneau being that kind of rectangular square shape is more kind of leaning in towards dress. But Franck Muller kind of redesigned it and said, no, this is not actually a dress watch, more sports. And something that's lost on people is when he says master of complications, right? This is one of the founding members of the AHCI, right? Which has all the best independent watchmakers. You know, we're talking George Daniels, F.P. Journe, even Philippe Dufour,
Sven Anderson.
It started Sven Anderson and Vincent Calabrese. And then a bunch of people joined in. And now today it's one of, if not the most well-regarded groups for independent watchmakers in the world today. And he's one of the founding members in the 80s and 90s.
All of us started on eBay, which was not an issue. But then any smart businessman can really make the decision. I made that decision early enough to say, look, my entire business is sitting on a platform which I do not own, which I do not control, and then tomorrow if they click the switch, my business is over. So we quickly all started to build e-commerce platforms. That's when LuxuryBazaar.com was born. Actually, originally it was TheLuxuryBazaar.com because LuxuryBazaar.com was taken by some asshole in Jersey, which I then later took back. So we all created our own e-commerce platforms. Now, what was the business model then? You literally go online, you rip off all the pictures off the manufacturer's website, you put them on your website, and you put them up there at a discount, hope you get an inquiry. When an inquiry came in, you went, called your local AD, filled the order, made you 10%, right? That was the entire business model. The only way you could possibly do it and tell all these cease and desisters to fuck off is to have your own pictures. So what did we do? We started going out there, taking as many pictures of watches that we could, and the ones that we couldn't get, we would take them off our website because you weren't allowed to use. Franck Muller was the hardest at sending out those cease and desist letters. Oddly enough, brands like AP, Richemont Group, a lot of those brands, they didn't send those cease and desist letters. The reason for that is because I think they realized that this is the future. There's nothing they can do with it, so why not get the exposure?
I mean, it's all free advertising as well, right? Like you're literally advertising for the company inadvertently.
So Franck Muller was so adamant, and at the time, Franck Muller was starting to die down a little bit. And then the decision for me was, well, do I want to fight with him, go out there, spend the efforts and this, that, and the other? Or do I just like remove him? I have 50 other brands that I can post, right? It's all pictures that we're posting. At that point, I had 50,000 in inventory, maybe 60, right? Which translated to about 5-10 watches. So I'm like, you know what? It's not worth the battle. I'm going to take him off. And back then, everybody followed suit. So everybody took him offline because that's what he wanted. And that's what really made him disappear. When social media came about, when other platforms came about, that's what he lost out on. And unfortunately, it was the fact that he didn't go gray like everybody else, or didn't allow that to happen, I think ultimately took him down. Speaking of Conquistadors, here's a ladies Conquistador version, still a pretty large watch in stainless steel. They made these on a bracelet as well. Last but not least, here's a rare salmon dial, or copper dial as they like to call it. And I'm not sure which model this is, let's see. Like 8005C, so it's another Conquistador, and this is, as I mentioned, this was technically made for a lady, but I know a lot of men bought this with smaller wrists. If you are a Muller fan, finding a salmon dial would be a lot harder than finding your regular dial.
Yeah, and I think that's true for most manufacturers, right? Salmon is typically reserved for your very complicated pieces, and also, I would say, your rarer and more exclusive ones. And nowadays, I think a lot more brands are starting to do salmon, which kind of reduces, I guess, the importance of it, but those older pieces are definitely special, no question.
Tank Americaine from Cartier. I mean, We can spend an entire episode talking about the history of the tank, talking about Cartier in general. And in fact, lately we've been buying up a lot of Cartier because people are starting to finally recognize, and it's become a little bit more stream rather than that low-key collector. But if you're looking for an entry-level gold Cartier, I can't come up with the better option than automatic tank Americaine.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, first of all, iconic design, rectangular K-shape, Cartier being, you know, an iconic design house. And you mix that with what I feel is, you know, a really stellar movement overall, and in again a K-shape that is super iconic. I don't think you can beat it, to be honest.
Exactly. It's a watch, and the thing of it is I like the size of it. Some of the newer ones are bigger than some of its older counterparts. Like this is actually a pretty big watch. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of Marco watches. I bought a couple of platinum Vacherons. I'll let you talk about them. Let's start with the Tourbillon.
Yeah, this is the Malt Tourbillon. I mean, just a beautiful watch. What can I say? It's got that, again, that's a
He's biased, that's his favorite brand.
That's the Tonneau K-shape, right? So it's kind of more, actually it would be more reminiscent of a Tortue, which is what Cartier calls it, but very
Tortue.
much...
Go ahead, say that, guys. Tortue.
Very much.
Thank you.
You know, what's interesting about these is these represent an amazing value. I mean, you can get these for a pretty reasonable price considering they're platinum, they're tourbillon, the execution is super well done, super unique format and design. And
you can see the tourbillon from the back as well. I'll show you the back of the case.
That level of execution, in my opinion, is just a testament to their quality.
What about this day-date?
Yeah, this is a beautiful day-date. Again, I believe it might be white gold, or is it platinum?
It is platinum.
Platinum with a kind of semi-skeletonized dial. You get to see a lot of the functioning parts. Even the barrel has a Maltese cross on it, which I think is so cool to see.
Hold that thought. If you look at the barrel in the front, this is what he's referring to right here. What I like about is I like the quick set button rather than having to use a pusher in order to set the watch.
Yep.
Automatic, obviously all the finishes of Vacheron, etc. This is going to need some TLC
and what's cool
before it goes for sale.
What's cool is these actually use a JLC movement, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's a testament also to JLC, which was a fantastic watchmaker and, you know, supplied movements to some of the very best of the best.
Oh, this is an old school Audemars Piguet. Jules Chrono, one of the earliest ones they've ever made. And again, these are picked up relatively cheap. They can be picked up around 10 grand, maybe even less sometimes. But it's, again, one of those value watches, and people tend to recognize that value later on once this thing hits 20, 30 grand because it is the original Jules. Yes, not the most popular line from Audemars Piguet, but at the same token, think of the value that you're getting. You're still getting
a chronograph,
a gold chronograph from the Holy Trinity. You know what I mean? So these are one of those things that they just work. All right, so Patek often gives you these travel cases, which there we go. Which I mean, I know this watch came with the original box as well, but not so favored line from Patek, believe it or not. I was never a big fan of the Aquanaut, but when the market goes crazy and all of a sudden people are starting to see, oh, wait a minute, this is a true collectible, I want to buy a bunch of them. It's like as the price goes up on a watch, even me doing this for 20 years, I feel like, oh, all of a sudden I like them. To me, no matter what anybody says, the Aquanaut was always the second best. The Aquanaut is the tutor to Rolex as Aquanaut is to the Nautilus. I've always felt that way.
I mean, John Mayer called it like the Chuck Taylor of watches, right? Just a very like clean aesthetic, super functional, very easy to use travel watch.
Comfortable watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly speaking, one of the best travel watches, one of the most easy to use. I mean, you just flick two buttons on the side of the case.
Yeah, when you talk about travel time, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to pull out the crown or anything like that. It's just so easy, simple to use, and you can wear it to anything.
Back from my days, the easiest for me, it was always Elise Nardine that did it for me.
Yeah.
With literally up two buttons that says plus, minus.
Yeah.
And we have a ladies Patek 24. Happy about what they did to the 24 line. The original 24 line was crap, I'm sorry. It was a smart move on their part because, again, at the time the watch didn't retail. It retailed, I think, around 10 grand, maybe even less. But I think that kudos to them to updating. They just made a prettier watch.
Patek has really invested a lot more in their ladies line, and I think you could say that for the market as a whole because the market for ladies is expanding. And before it used to just be like very simple watches, not much to it except, you know, watches with diamonds. You know, they thought that diamonds was the only thing that would sell a watch, but they didn't really put any thought in the design or execution of the watch itself. And it's nice to see.
You know why I think that happened? Is I think because you had a bunch of men designing ladies' watches.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I mean? And their thought process, let me just throw a bunch of diamonds on it, and therefore it's going to become a pretty watch. But if you look at some of the ladies' pieces from some of these major manufacturers, Patek included, a lot of them are just butt ugly.
Yeah, they're just not.
You know who makes pretty ladies' watches? Cartier, Piaget, Harry Winston. I think they make beautiful ladies' models, but you look at places like Jaeger or Blancpain. It was just like, let's take the men's watch, make it smaller, put a diamond bit
That's
water.
exactly what they did.
How about a Jaeger memo box? This is the memo box Alarm Perpetual. So this thing is packed with value, right? Why? Because Jaeger makes their own movements, they don't have to pay anybody. So they're able to create a perpetual with an alarm function, which works and actually works well. What's your favorite alarm watch?
I mean, I haven't put much thought into it, to be honest with you.
Do you have to pick one?
Yeah, if I had to pick one, probably Jaeger, or Patek makes that travel time, the pilot's watch with the alarm.
Mine is the 5707, the Reveal du Tsar from Piguet. Okay. I don't know what it is about that watch. Again, one of those watches that goes back to when I started, so I guess it's like nostalgic to me. But again, here's a watch you pick up under 20 grand, a full perpetual alarm. Where are you gonna go to get that?
Yeah, it's...
And, oh, how much more can we talk about the OP?
Yeah, we can't get enough of them, to be honest with you. They sell out so quick. They're in and out of our hands, really. And I mean, I totally understand why. Again, it goes
price point, size, overall aesthetic.
Character, yeah, aesthetic, versatility. I mean, you wear.
I have the number one reason why they go in and out. One word, Rolex. Let's see what we have in the big AP box. My favorite brand, the Ceramic Perpetual. This guy comes in just in time, finding an episode where me and Adrian did of Watches and Whiskey, where we talked prediction for AP. On that Watches and Whiskey, if you guys have been watching that, Adrian said, I wish they came out with a Ceramic Perpetual in blue. Lo and behold, blew up Instagram yesterday. They came out with this watch in blue. I'm a fan, but I'm also a fan of the original. And I think the fate of this is going to be to go up now, because if they're coming out with different colors, I'm assuming they're no longer going to make this one.
Yeah, or they're not going to make it in as big of quantities, right? So
well, they never did make this in bigger quantities.
Right.
But
I mean, they're limited by, first of all, production of it, because I mean, I can't even imagine, right, making a ceramic case and bracelet to this degree and this level, because ceramic cracks.
Not even the case so much, the bracelet.
Especially the bracelet, because the bevels involved in each individual facet of the bracelet is just ridiculous, right?
And now, not only make it out of ceramic, but also make it durable, make it actually not, crack. Like if I drop this watch, it's not going to shatter into pieces as you would expect from ceramic, right? Again, at the height of the market, these went through ridiculous roof. They've come down some, but not a lot.
Yeah.
They've sort of been holding steady, and the reason for that, they're holding around that $300,000 mark. And the reason they're doing that is because go find one, right?
Yeah, just tough to find.
I think the blue is going to elevate these. It's going to elevate the skeleton. Well, the skeleton version of this doesn't need to be elevated, because it's like, again, good luck getting one of those. When they did the white ceramic, I'm actually a fan of the white ceramic, but I wish they did what Pablo. He took a white ceramic perpetual AP and he made the dial white as well. Just a white dial is not as eligible, there's still a perpetual calendar you have to read.
Yeah, I honestly speaking, right, I'm partial to the black. I think the black is a lot more versatile. White is probably the perfect summer, spring watch. Black you could wear year round, in my opinion, but it's kind of like a night.
So the blue, right, and even in a down market, I think the blue one is going to fetch ridiculous premiums. It's going to lift the prices of these, the white ones, as well as all the other ceramic pieces that AP made.
Listen, I'm not a big investment watch guy, but these are definitely, in my opinion, investment.
Listen, it's very easy. It's very easy to talk about specifically perpetual calendars as an investment when you have, in the last 2 to 3 years, every single major auction house, all the records were broken, and pretty much every model in some of
it's all AP perpetuals. It's super limited, like very specific AP models. But AP perpetuals are like the gold standard, basically.
And whoever said to go backwards to older offshores is at a good value. Just to reiterate on that, if you go backwards in AP, you go back 20 years, you go back 30 years, the amount of perpetuals they made then versus the amount of perpetuals they make now is night and day. YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next unboxing.
Marco, do a flip. Go.
Yeah, right.